All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in for a real treat tonight on Sportswire Radio because our guest, who we didn't know if he was ever coming back to GT Ministries. In fact, we didn't even know if he was ever coming back to Sportswire Radio because this is his first appearance here on the air in almost a year. And when you think about Sportswire, usually we get everybody back after a certain time, but our guest, he is really one of the most important guests in our show history, not just because of what he does in the ring, but of course outside the ring, where he does his most important work, serving the community, especially the people of Bradford. He'll talk about all of that, but we are very excited to have him here to talk about what he did in the Fountains Church at Numbers, Ready to Rumble. He has pretty much done it all. He has been a champion. He has been an actor. He has been a husband, a dad, a faith leader. You name it all. That's why we always love hearing from this man. He needs no further introduction, but because it's been almost a year, and I happen to think that my introductions are even better, we have to give him the usual introduction that everybody else gets. So with that, woo! Wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, the man behind GT Ministries, Gareth Angel. My friend!
You know, it's been a pleasure to have my ears blasted by that right now. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, if you said that, that's certainly enough of a ringing endorsement, no pun intended, because everybody says now, Mr. Angel, well, you know, your intros have improved over the years, and I always like to tell people, they'll remember me, sir, by one thing only. It's not going to be who I've interviewed. It's not going to be the views, not going to be the followers. It's going to be those introductions. So certainly, Mr. Angel, it has been literally a lot more than a hot skip in a minute. I feel like a lot has changed, especially in GT Ministries over the past year. And the burning question is, why did you return this past weekend? Numbers ready to rumble, and you certainly laid eyes on the man that took you on the shelf for just about that year, and Disciple and his accomplice, Drill.
Well, they say that timing is everything. And having seen what was occurring with Bentley, having seen what was occurring with the GTM faithful and their support of him, I was ready, I would say maybe 2 or 3 months ago, to step back with the side. But I felt I wanted to hit him when it hurt, and I wanted to hit him in my own way, in my own little universe of space, just to make sure that he knows there is nobody else in his line of sight other than me, because we have unfinished business. There isn't room for the pair of us in GT. You want to talk about the Rumble? Let's talk about the Rumble. Let's talk about those people who were missing from the Rumble. Let's talk about Stealth. Where was he? I can tell you
That's
exactly
a good question, because Disciple kept saying Stealth. He was like, Stealth, Stealth, Stealth. It's like a helium balloon almost.
Well, I can tell you, exclusive. He was laid out in the parking lot with his leg in mangles, thanks to a metal chair and Gareth Angel. That's where he was. Nobody found him till later on. And where's Drill now? I can tell you where Drill went the second the Rumble finished. He went to Bradford Royal Infirmary to have his arm put back together, thanks to Gareth Angel and a steel chair. Disciple, I think he's feeling a little bit about what I felt October last year. His head is ringing. He's seeing stars. He's got Tweety Bird spinning around his head, telling him he needs to wake up. Because I'm back. The king is back in the kingdom, and I'm not coming for the crown. I'm not coming for the championship. I'm coming for Disciple. That's the story, Tom. That's the story.
I'm floored because, I mean, you said a mouthful there in a short amount of time, and I'll get to comments. I know people are going to start coming in here shortly, but it did seem like, Mr. Angel, that it was a new Gareth Angel, and we kind of heard that on the call between old school MC2 and the wild card Tommy Dillon, who we'll get to later on. But does it feel like a new you? I mean, there was almost a new aggressive side. I mean, talk about that.
No, this isn't a new me, Tom. This is an old me. This is a Gareth Angel who, for many years now, has walked the line of virtue. If you go way back to my early career and you look at all the promotions I used to be contender in.
Oh, we've talked about it the first time you came on. I remember it very well.
Radical Wrestling League, the LWF, TNT, KGW, all the promotions up and down the country I've performed at for over 12 years now. A lot of them will remember me as quite a vicious, nasty man. That's always been there. But I heard Jordan Peterson, you may know of him, a real great thinker, man of our time. One of the things he said, and I think this relates to me as a Christian man, but also relates to me as a man wrestler in the ring. If you're too weak to stand up for yourself, someone starts a fight and you walk away, that's not. When you know you can destroy that person, you're physically capable, and a fight comes up, but you walk away from that fight, that's a virtue. The last time me and Disciple were in the ring, he raised that chair and said, Angel, why don't you hit me with it? Why don't you hit me with that chair? And I took the virtuous way out and I did it. In my match with Jack Johnson, he did the exact same thing with the lead pipe, but I walked away from it. So if you heard in the Rumble, Disciple was saying, oh, he isn't going to hit me with that chair. He's not going to hit me with that chair.
Not only did you hit him, you removed him out of the ring right afterwards. I mean, and drill, you literally drilled him. It was almost like a power drill. You use a power drill. You were like bang, bang, bang. I don't know if I've ever seen you use a chair or that chair period that many times in covering you in GT Ministries. I mean, really.
I think we need to realize, and this is something I think a lot of people will relate to, there is darkness and evil in this world. And sometimes taking the kind, forgiving, Christ-like way will only get us so far. Sometimes you've got to fight fire. Sometimes you've got to get between the ropes and join the fight. And that's what I've done with Disciple. I've laid it out. He knows I'm back. Very well knows I'm back. He's feeling it right now. But I'm hoping I didn't hit him too much. I'm hoping there's enough of him left for September because the challenge is there. Chronicles 2, Gareth Angel versus Disciple, 1-on-1. I know that Fountains maybe don't want to sanction this. GT Ministries, my trustees have said they may not maybe want to sanction this, but I'm willing to take it off the record. I'm willing to take it off the books. And I want loser leaves. There's only room for one of us. Only room for one of us.
So are you saying, Mr. Angel, let me get this straight here. Let me try to paraphrase what you said, because obviously I know you've got a lot on your mind. But are you saying September the 16th at the Fountains Church in Bradford that you want Disciple in a loser leaves town match? Is that what you want?
That's exactly what I want. Crystal clear, Tom. You heard me. Crystal clear. And I hope Disciple's listening. And I hope that he hears it crystal clear.
Would you be concerned, though, that this might backfire on you? Because Disciple has said for months after months that basically you weren't coming back, you were finished, you were done. And he ran GT Ministries for the majority of that time and held that GTM title. Some may feel that it was the most dominant championship run in GTM history. Others feel that he basically skated by the skin of his teeth due to the likes of Stealth and Drill. But are you sure, though, that Disciple isn't goading you at all by any way?
If he was goading me, wouldn't he have come for me? I came for him. He hasn't been goading me at all. He's been leaving. Bentley's been his focus. His meat shields, Stealth and Drill have been his focus. That championship on his shoulder until he lost it was his focus. All the way through what he was saying in that Rumble was he's coming back for the title. He wasn't expecting me.
I don't think anybody. I have to be honest. Now, I'm sure you're aware, because you obviously commented. We had Bentley on, and I mean, nobody really thought you were going to come into GT. I mean, this was really, we think about, like, you were kind of mentioned a lot. I would have to say, of any wrestler, I'm sure you might have heard this from different people, because obviously you're a very, very, very busy man. I understand. But a lot of people had brought your name up, and when I would bring your name up, it seemed like, nah, he's never coming back. He's never come back to GTM. Gareth Angel in a wrestling ring in the Fountains Church, never going to happen. No way. But yet, it was kind of, I think, one of the bigger surprises this year at all of wrestling. I mean, when you were announced, I believe, as entrant number 15, I have to say, I was taken back.
Timing is everything. Timing is everything.
You did time it pretty well. I'll give you that much, Mr. Angel.
Look, when I was sat in commentary and I was calling it and I was watching what was happening in the ring, I felt the itch and I was ready then. When I was sat front row when it was Jack versus Disciple and I stood up, and rightly so, some people came and sat me down.
Yes, it was kind of like almost like third wall, almost like we saw you there, but like we didn't know. It was kind of like one of those interesting, like I didn't know what to say.
Look, GT Ministries is my baby. It is. It's my thing. It's my project. It's my life's work. It's my thing. I couldn't not be there. Now, could I get between the ropes? Would insurances have covered it? Would doctors have cleared it? At that point, no. Did I want to? Oh, yes. Of course I did. It never went away. And watching Disciple do what he did, speak to people the way that he did, build that little army of his, and to run roughshod over guys like Jack Johnson, who well deserved to be back in that title. Guys like Bentley, who were screwed time and time and time again. Other people up and down the roster who fell foul to him. Guys like Pride, who never deserved an ass kicking from Disciple. Every single one of those moments.
Dave Douglas, throw him in there. Yeah, I mean, listen, it was a long list of talent, no question. Long list.
All of these people, well, listen, all these people are people that I care for and I respect. Backstage in the locker room at GT Ministries is different to anywhere up and down this country.
I agree with that. That I agree with. I 1000% agree with. A GTM locker room is not like any other locker room out there that we've covered. I 1000% agree. That's why I always say GTM. I always get excited every chance. Just, as you know, Bentley goes on with us just about before every show, and we kind of talk, we recap what he's doing, everything else, and I always love that. But I mean, though, when you were lied up and you were in the hospital for that time, you're in this coma and you were severely beaten. I mean, you know, Disciple had come on here many times after that. It seemed that, you know, we didn't know if you were ever going to come back. How did you feel when you're lying in that hospital bed and month after month after month, and, you know, you couldn't get out there and you didn't know what was going on? And how did that make you feel?
You know what hurt the most, Tom? What hurt the most was being laid in that hospital bed over my wedding anniversary. What hurt the most was being laid in that hospital bed over my daughter's first birthday. What hurt the most was me not being able to recognize my own children and their mother, my wife, Beth, taking them out of the hospital room because I was in no fit state to be seen. That was more than enough motivation to come back. Regardless of what was going on in between the ropes, regardless of what was happening in Fountains Church and the team there and everything else, what he did to me was he took away moments and memories, and precious time with the people that I love. He is going to have to pay. That is where this aggression is coming from. As a father and as a husband and as a man, I couldn't be where I needed to be. That extended break, 6 months, 7 months, however long it was, I had to spend some time fixing things. I had to spend some time fixing my marriage, fixing my work-life balance, fixing some other stuff. I just needed to be the best version of myself so that when I did return, everything was in place and everything was right, so that I could focus fully on taking down Disciple and his descendants and ridding GTM of the poison and the disease that he is. It disgusts me what he did, and it disgusts me even further what it then caused in my family. Come September 16th at Chronicles, there is going to be nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, stopping me from destroying that man. Tit for tat, eye for an eye. I want him to feel what I felt. And after that, I'm going to pray. long and hard for forgiveness, for redemption, and for restoration, so that I can get back to being virtuous. But until that moment, I want him to know this is not the same Gareth Angel that stepped in the ring with him in October. And I want everyone at GTM to know that this is not the same Gareth Angel that was there in October. This is an old version. This is a pre-Christ version. To destroy what I need to destroy. And that is decided.
I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are seeing, whatever or not Mr. Angel may want to say, we are seeing a different Gareth Angel, a more aggressive, a more ruthless. Maybe it's a throwback, maybe it's not, but I would certainly tread very lightly if I'm in the way of Gareth Angel. And if you are out there on Sportswire Radio's platforms, I say hello to you. And also, you can follow GT Ministries at GT Ministries UK on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. Also follow Wrestling Church -FCB. Also, that's the new page on Facebook. Make sure you check that, because that's where you can watch this past Saturday show in the Fountains Church, where Gareth Angel made his triumphant return. I want to say hello to somebody else that's out there who said, oh yes, this is going to be a belter, a legit legend in the hot seat. Good evening, Jess. We are talking about none other than the Big Cheese Logan, of course, the Tribal Cheese. I acknowledge the Tribal Cheese, who also made his return to the ring after a few months over in CCW. And he also says, don't turn heel, Mr. Angel. We need those poster boy faces to stick together. So, I mean, do you want to...
This isn't... no, this isn't a heel turn. This isn't a heel turn. No. Look, the people want to see Disciple. This isn't a heel turn. This is me just doing what I need to do to get.
I've known you a while though, and we had you and Jack on at the same time. We had you on after your battles with Rarebit. But let me ask you this question. And Disciple's been on here many times. When he was the champion, he was doing the spots. We would have him and Bentley would rotate, so they would kind of get almost the two sides of the story of where we were going into every GTM show. And I want to obviously thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to continue to cover GTM, regardless of whether you're in a hospital bed or not. But are you concerned in the fact that sometimes they say when it gets this personal, you kind of lose sight of everything? So it would be safe to say, though, that this is personal. This is more personal than the wars with Rarebit, the wars with Jack, anybody else. So is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Jack didn't put me on the shelf and destroy so many precious moments.
No, he didn't. He did not.
No. Yeah, he cheated. He had some goons. But Jack turned his life around. I can't hold anything against Jack. I
always liked Jack, by the way. And I loved having Jack here. And by the way, happy belated birthday to Jack. It was Jack's birthday.
Yeah, of course. Like, as a person, and, I say the same to Big Cheese. I'll say the same to Joe Cobra. I'll say the same to guys like Slugger Hampton. I'll say the same to so many guys that Bentley, Boylan, Sean Only, all these guys. You know what? When we get between the ropes, we understand there's a professionalism. There is a gentleman's handshake, if you will, that's said with the eyes, not with the hands. We're having a fight, and we're going to fight. It's simple. We understand that. What Disciple did was when we had a fight, I put Gareth Angel on, I seriously hurt him, and I saw that he was hurt, but I still came back for more. Jack would never have done that. I don't think Jack had that. I don't say that Jack didn't have that in him, but I think Jack respected me enough.
I
showed no respect.
Yeah, and I think I do think that you did a lot for Jack that somewhat was acknowledged on the air. Certainly in Wrestling Church it was. I mean, Joe Colbert, it's obviously definitely been acknowledged in Wrestling Church. But almost, I mean, in a way, maybe do you think that Disciple was either jealous of you or knew that if you were in the picture, he couldn't get his goal in being the GTM champion? Do you think that was part of it, maybe?
No, I don't think it was that. I think Disciple was confident to know that I'd given him a title shot. Again, there's me being virtuous. I promised him a title shot and I gave him it. And then I end up on the receiving end of a serious injury. I think Disciple has always had gold in his mind. I think he always wants to be, and we understand this. He did it at Saw as well as he did months ago. His only goal was gold. The reason he brought Drill and Stealth around, it was never to benefit him, it was to benefit him. He's selfish. Disciple wanted gold, he would do whatever he could to get it, and whatever he could to keep it. when he saw me down, he saw an opportunity to take out a valid top title contender. He saw an opportunity to hurt me, get rid of me, because I think he didn't want me hanging around and coming back. And he knew he had enough on his plate with Rarebit holding that briefcase, with Ben chasing him, snapping at his heels, and Jack Johnson being the man with motivation. He didn't then also want me in the mix too. So I understand. I don't think it was jealousy. I think he saw an opportunity. If I can get rid of Angel here now, that's one less headache for me to think at that point.
All right. I mean, I could kind of see that, and I do obviously do think though that he had the most success certainly in a very long time in his career, and would he have done it otherwise? I don't know. But obviously, I'll come back to some of that in a second. But I wanted to also spend some time on most recently some work you've done outside the ring. And most recently, did an interview, obviously, on Christian radio. And a lot has been said about GT Ministries outside the ring. Obviously, inside the ring, we always talk about each show every month. Bentley comes on. I'm sure Bentley, I've spoken to Bentley, and I'm sure he'll be back on. And, I speak to a number of the guys, Joel Cobra, obviously Slugger. Obviously, we love those guys. And I obviously always do my best to try to talk GTM on the show. But how has the future been? Obviously, you guys have done some different things. I mean, I've seen some different kind of wrestling churches kind of outside the Fountains Church in Bradford. Obviously, we also saw some stuff inside the ring with an all-women's show. We have a women's title for the first time. But talk about maybe some of the stuff you guys have been working on outside the ring, which I think has been really important in kind of spreading the goals you had of the company from the very beginnings.
Yeah, so sorry, I've been dealing with a cough for a couple of weeks.
I can totally relate, by the way. My allergies are like through the roof the last couple of days, so don't feel bad.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. So yeah, what we've been doing at Fountains is obviously really precious and special. We've created a worshiping community there. We have wrestling church, our regular events. We're often packed out. On Saturday we could barely fit anybody else in the building. We get some great coverage from that too. Premier Radio being in touch. Just one example, the BBC obviously. There's some more exciting things coming down the line. But the goal was always, in my mind, was doing church differently and introducing people to faith and religion, the benefits that brings mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, whatever, relationally as well. What we did at Fountains was almost like a pilot. And actually, we could go, we've got something that works here. We've got a model and we know that it works. How can we benefit the rest of the UK by putting that into the hands of churches in different areas? So, another exclusive here for you. We haven't even put the posters out yet, but September 23rd, we're going to be at St. Paul's Church in Stockton-on-Tees. So we're going to be there. And on the 30th, we're going to be at St. Francis Church in Derby.
Okay.
We did have an event booked in for Gloucester in October. That's going to get moved a little further back in the year. Speaking of the church in East London, who wants to set up a wrestling church, we've got some great investors. We've got some great trustees coming on board as we switch to a charity, the CIO, so we can set up training schools and events and partner with church. We recently did a podcast with the church in Chicago, church in Seattle, maybe even potential visit to New York City.
You know, Mr. Angel. If you can come to New York, I will certainly make sure I will.
You'll be putting me up.
You know what? And I will roll the red carpet out with you because a couple of weeks ago I just run into Sheriff Steele. So obviously the sheriff I ran into, and with you, I will make sure I drop every single humanly possible thing I have that day to see you. But I think it's so important what you do because obviously we watch all the GTM shows. We watch Wrestling Church, and I've pretty much been covering you guys now for about a year and a half. And what I always liked about what you've done is it's not just like when we were growing up as kids, you went to church and you had the sermon, you stood up, did your prayers. If you were Catholic, you received communion, you went back afterwards, maybe you said a prayer and you left the church. And it was like almost... Well, not that it didn't mean anything, but it was almost like a factory. It was like almost like the same thing. With what you guys do, which is so cool, I think, is you incorporate the live band. You incorporate the speaking. Obviously, you yourself and the other people, Linda, and by the way, big shout out to Linda. Linda always does a great job. You got Shelby. Shelby's always a part of things. But what I always thought was so cool is that I always feel that you've almost reimagined what church should be like, because there's a lot of people out there that are like our age in their 30s that kind of looked at it like, again, I know obviously you had a different story than mine, but I remember growing up as a kid, my parents would take us to church and it was like, I didn't want to go because it was like, you would go, like I said, growing up Catholic, it was like the same thing. It was like, and it became to a point, people looked at you a certain way and yada, yada. So, but what I think is so cool, why I wanted to bring this up is that you guys do something where I think you reimagine what the experience of church is like. And I think that's why you've had some success. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I think there's many different levels to this, which I'll go into briefly, and this is some of the stuff that I'm talking with church leaders. Is I think we're at a point now where there's a whole generation of people who actually didn't go to church, so they're kind of the younger people. Like I remember my grandmother being at church; she was a devout Catholic. She had more pictures of Mary around the house than she had of her own kids, grandkids, and she was there all the time. When I was at school, we had mass, we had prayers, all that stuff, similar to what you were saying. But I think there's a whole generation now that are coming through that have maybe heard some of the Bible stories, like David and Goliath, like Jonah, but never actually read them, never really fully understand them. They're probably not reading their Bibles. They're probably not engaging with church in the normal format. Might be seeing the odd thing on TikTok or Instagram Reels or something and thinking about the topics and subjects. But we also have a lot of people now being confronted with real deep desperation and loneliness. I think COVID caused that.
Absolutely. We spoke a lot about that. Mental health, big deal now.
Yeah, there's a massive gap in the community for people to come together, gather together in a space where everyone's like around an activity. And that doesn't have to be wrestling. I think this is something else I've seen. I know a guy who set up a paddleboard church where they get out paddleboards in the river and meet back at the end and they have a bit of chat, conversation, they pray together, they eat together, and that's church. It doesn't have to be the big ornate buildings, as majestic as they are. It can literally be, and it says in the Bible, where 2 or 3 gather, the Lord is with them. It doesn't need to be anything massive. Just this past Friday, I had about 15 guys in my garden eating chicken tikka masala, drinking beers around a fire, just chatting, and these are guys.
I never would have thought that. I mean, I never would have guessed that. That's pretty interesting that you could actually do something like that. I never would have guessed.
Yeah, right. This is the thing, is that people are going, well, why can't I'm saying, why can't church be like that? Why does it have to be formulated? Here's a prayer, here's worship, here's a hymn, here's a this, here's a that. And the fact that we talk from personal experience too. The guys who are preaching, whatever you call it, who are talking to people at wrestling church, they're talking from self-experience. It's not like I'm sat there going, well, I'm a posh southerner who's never had a trouble in my life, telling you how to deal with the cost of living crisis because I'm on a cushy salary and never had a. No, like I know what it's like to be homeless living in a skip. I know what it's like when I fall apart. I'm talking to you from experience because I know what Jesus has done in my life. I can tell you, show you. It's not from a place of academic, systemic, cultured belief. It's from real life experience, life transformed, changing belief that really comes across. And another thing which you don't see on the live stream is as people are piling in, they're all stood around, and I can walk around and I know the majority of those people.
Well, I've kind of noticed because I get them that follow me on Facebook and Instagram. You do have people that come regularly to the shows. That I've kind of gotten a sense of that. It's not just people that come once to a show. They go to every show, and they go to the wrestling church, and they go there not just to watch everything what you guys all do. By the way, we love everything you guys do in the ring, but they go there for that almost collegial type service and the prayers and stuff like that. And I even think I go back to what you've done for people's lives. Jack is an example. Joel Cobra and I speak regularly. Joel Cobra has always been one of my favorites. I think about, Bentley's had some nice words to say off the air about what you guys have done. I think about just Blue Glasses Girl, another person, obviously Pride was in the documentary. I think about, so what I think what you've done is it's not just, okay, you guys, no disrespect to any other wrestling company. It's not just where, okay, you guys show up, this is your match, and that's cut and dry. No, what you're doing is almost offering people another place to go, and it's a place of support. And I think, like you said, in this day and age, we're all facing cost of living inflation. We're all facing still the stigmas of post-COVID and just everything else. And I think what you've done here is so important, and that's why I'd like people to go out there and follow GT Ministries on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok and support this company. Do whatever you can, whether it's buy a shirt, whether it's just give them support, follow, like, comment, anything you can. Please do those things. Also, Gareth Angel, give him a like on Facebook. Give him a friend request. Say hello to him. Instagram, Twitter. He's on all those great platforms. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryson. If you are on Sportswire Radio, I hope you continue to give us a like and follow on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. Also, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If you don't want to see any of this or that, you can go to sportnarium.com/player. We play music talk. We simulcast these shows. And also, if you're on YouTube, we're now on YouTube at Sportswire Radio. And speaking of the Big Cheese, we'll probably have the Big Cheese on next week to talk about his own return to the ring. So we'll definitely talk about that and plus much, much more. But we are here with Mr. Gareth Angel, and somebody else that was in the Rumble says hello. That was Daniel Banner, a young trainee, obviously was out there, and he did which I'm still trying to figure out here. I'll come back to you in a second. But
was it a Kamehameha? Was it a Hadouken?
I was like, what? First of all, and I asked Bentley this question. I'm like, did he really do the Hadouken? And I'm like, first of all, like, did he think that was going to help knock Sean Only out of the Rumble?
Why not? Why not? You know, and I just want to say this as well to Daniel Banner, cosplay kid. What a phenomenal year this kid has had. And
yes, he's always here with us, and he's a big supporter. And I appreciate that.
And I think what happened on Saturday was a massive nod to his hard work and his diligence in the training academy. And for him, he's one of those guys who come to faith, baptized and confirmed, and he is, he's diligent. And we all have our issues. Some of us may never make it in the business to a point where we're wrestling weekend after weekend, multiple times a weekend. For some of us, a Rumble spot might be it. That might be our dream. That might be something that we can say we've done. But for Daniel Banner, keep up the hard work, keep in the gym, keep busting your backside, kid, and well done for what you achieved on Saturday. Although you did get your head kicked in and thrown out. Hey, I've always wanted to do a Kamehameha in a match. I'm a massive Dragon Ball fan.
I have to be honest. I don't know if I would have thought of that, but I certainly will give him credit for that. Yeah. He also claims the Hadouken was not powered enough, LOL. But let me ask you, transitioning on...
Didn't charge it enough. That's the problem. That's it.
Yeah, well, that and some. But I wanted to transition for a minute or two because obviously we know that each week, I believe Thursday nights is kind of where we have the academy. We're training all of our young prospects. We've seen a bunch of them that were in the Rumble, and obviously we saw they sort of teamed up on Mr. Only. But are you happy with the progress of the academy and training sessions? And talk about how that has been also an important leg up. I know that other guys, and I know Joel Cobra's been a fixture at sessions on Thursday. I know Joel and I speak, and some other guys. I think AJ Grimm, Dave Douglas, some of the modern day Mafia guys have been at training. But talk about how happy you are with the progress of the academy and how that's been an important leg, I think, for where you guys are going in the future.
Yeah, I think unfortunately I've not been able to be there every Thursday, but Sean Only has had glowing reports for a good number of them and seeing them progress and grow and move forward. There's a real family feel there. Everyone's supporting each other. I'm in the chat. I see what's being talked about. They all really, getting the ring up and down at shows and being available to just jump on Tuck Shop or to help out with running the ring around or to be kind of taking jackets backstage, all that kind of stuff. They all show up and they all give 110% every single time. And they all support each other, which is what I want the culture to be. And Sean and Shelby and the team at Fountains have helped keep that happening. It's phenomenal. And I'm so excited for the last week of August, where they're going to have a whole week of wrestling training where the ring's going to be up the whole time. We can't have the ring up every time, but for the end week of August, they're going to have the ring up the whole week. So you can go to fountainsbradford.org, the website, wrestling page, sign up to that. If you want to get involved with GT Ministries and become one of our trainees. We're starting to see these guys come through now. Pride is getting there. He's getting more regular stuff.
Yeah, Pride. I've seen Pride actually. I've seen him in Nonstop Action Wrestling. He's been a fixture there, and I've obviously seen him evolve. I even go back to when I think the first times we were covering GTM to where he is now. You're seeing like the confidence. You're seeing the skill set. So you're seeing somebody that is, I think, an example. Maybe your biggest, I would say, trainee that's come out of the program, where he's had kind of like a lot of success and just getting out there and having that match experience, which I think is so important because it gives him the opportunity to go work in different places if that's what he wants to do. Obviously, everybody's
course.
different.
Yeah.
You know,
and we're not one of those training schools that say, "Oh, you only ever work for us, don't go take bookings elsewhere." You know, when they're ready, we encourage. We're like, look, you can. Like, I know most of the best reps I did were working camps with like the same guy, and we would just tour and we would just do matches all over the same match over and over and over and over again, get reps under my belt. Like, I understand that different crowds, different places, different wrestlers.
sure.
The only way you're going to improve when you get to a certain point. But I think Sean Only and myself both have this same vision where we're not going to put people forward when they're not ready. We're not going to just let them run out with no gear, with no kind of idea who their character is. No matter, like, they don't know how to work a match or how to do the basics, at least fundamentals, well. We're not going to be putting them on TV or on live streams or wherever until they're ready. And that might mean a longer cooking process in the oven, but we only want to put them out when they're ripe and ready. We don't want to be going ahead of time.
But
Sean's really cool with
but I think that's the right way to go, because one of my friends actually here in New York is a professional wrestler, and I speak with him from time to time. And he was trained out here in the House of Glory by Amazing Red, who was in TNA. And I asked him for months, I'm like, Chris, when are you going to wrestle? When am I going to watch you in the ring? And he was like, he trained, I think, on and off for like 5 years to the point. And when I watched him in the ring, he was like a total professional. Sometimes it's good to take your time and all that stuff here. And then just for a minute or two, I wanted to talk about the all women's show you guys put on not too long ago. I mean, that was really cool. And I mean, talk about that. Obviously, Jenny Hayes was on commentary. Very good friend. Jenny Hayes, loved the rock idol of the UK. Obviously, Shelby. Yeah. I mean, Shelby's amazing. We've had Shelby on here in the past. Obviously, Leonie Rose, who's like, I think, kind of like on her way to becoming kind of like the next Tonga, Alexis Falcon, Lily Winter, Lana Austin in the women's scene in the UK. And just talk about the women's show and what that meant to the company and having that and the success it was.
Yeah, so that's been an idea that's actually been kind of cooking away in the background for quite a while. Unfortunately, in British wrestling, there are not that many female wrestlers.
And I know, I've heard, and I know.
It was very hard to pull this show off. You know, it was very, very hard. Even up until the week off, we were scrambling for another opponent or another match because we wanted to do a tournament. Couldn't happen, and people being injured, a few ladies falling pregnant, which is amazing, fantastic. But,
that does happen, right? I mean, that does happen.
Big Cheese isn't going to suddenly get pregnant, is it? It's not one of those.
Well, I can ask him. I can ask him when he comes on the show in a few days if you want.
But you know what I mean. He's not going to drop a camembert on us next week. He's it's a unique issue that you're only going to find in women's wrestling. So it was hard to pull that off, but I'm so happy that we did. Because for both two reasons. First of all, we would love to have, more than two reasons. First of all, we'd love to have more women in our training academy. We want to see more female wrestlers come through the training academy. So we want them to know that it's doable, right? We want them to see some of these girls and be like, yes, that's awesome. Another thing, I want my daughters to see women wrestling. I want them to be like looking and going, Dad, I want to be a wrestler when I grow up. Like my eldest Isabella, she tells me she's got a little belt that she runs around with.
Yep.
Yeah, she's like doing the "you can't see me" and trying to beat me up. Like, I want her to see girls like Leonie.
She might give you more trouble than Disciple there, sir.
She might. Give her 20 years under her belt, maybe. I'll be a decrepit old man by then. So. But yes, I want to see young girls, and we do get a lot of young girls coming to the shows. I want them to see the women up there and be like, cool, I can do that too. But then also from a church perspective, I wanted the church to see that women have just as much value as men in this space and in this sphere, and they can preach, and they can lead worship, and they can tell their stories, and they can do all the other stuff that men can do just as well, if not better. And I would say Leonie Rose versus Kirsty Love was one of the best matches we've put on as GT Ministries in our 2 years of existence within fans.
I agree about that. I definitely agree about that. And those are two performers I know very well, so I definitely agree with you on that.
I was sat ringside just being like, oh my goodness, what an event is this? What a show is this? What a match is this? And those girls, they pulled it out and they smashed it. But also, I want the wrestling scene to see the value of wrestling because there isn't enough of it going on. And maybe that is because it's a bit difficult to book and it can be a bit expensive. But also, like, I heard another female wrestler say this. I want to see more than just one women's match on a card if we can make that happen. I don't want it to just be the token women's match. I want, if we can pull off a whole card of women's wrestling, I'd love to do that. And I'm fully behind that. And female voices and commentary, female referees in the ring, and all the other stuff that comes with that. I'm a massive supporter. And I think, I did some work recently as an ambassador for a domestic abuse charity. I can't be a hypocrite and walk the line of telling men not to abuse women, but then exclude women from my ministry. I have to embrace that, and I want to embrace that because they bring just as much to the table as guys, if not more, in some cases. And I'm so impressed that we managed to pull that off in a massive. Well done to Linda and Shelby and the girls at Fountains for being so on board with that as well.
Absolutely no question about that. And I could not agree with you more because if you think about it, again, there's some really, really talented women's wrestlers around. And obviously, you mentioned some of those names. Leonie, I mean, I see Leonie everywhere. Christy Love, obviously, Alfie now is with you guys here. And obviously, you have a lot of talent that's out there. And I think if we can make it happen, obviously, Jenny can still do commentary. Shelby, we've mentioned. I mean, Shelby, I saw some of the comments. I'll leave that. But if Shelby maybe one day would want to step up out there, but there's no question that there's a lot of talent out there. And we look forward to seeing more women's wrestlers here in GT Ministries. But obviously, I've got a little bit more time with you, and I know your time is precious. I have to come back to some of your stuff in the ring. Now, I am sure you caught Bentley in last week's show because I saw the comments, obviously, and we kind of mentioned you coming on here. And we saw that Bentley had won the Rumble, and he's the guy next to get a shot at Rarebit. But I almost felt like, in a way, that not that there's a what if yet, but there was, in a way, kind of an acknowledgement of you two. Obviously, we saw you guys in the ring. You brawled a bit. There was a handshake afterwards. I mean, so you want to talk about that at all? Because I think there's a lot of people out there. And I know Bentley's going to be on here before the 16th of September. So you want to talk about maybe that face-to-face with Bentley where you exchanged a couple of blows and a handshake afterwards and anything else there on your mind?
So I've got a lot of love for Bentley.
Yes.
A good friend of mine, Fallow, used to be a wrestler at RWL and was the general manager there when he first brought me in. At RWL is where I met guys like Bentley, where I met guys like Jack Johnson, Alex Boylan, and many others. Even Rarebit, long before he ever wore a mask.
Well, I'm afraid to even get into Rarebit right now with you. I'm afraid.
I mean, I don't know what that mask is doing to him. But,
that's what I was about to say.
Jekyll and Hyde, my goodness. I think that mask is cursed, if you ask me. There's something going on. Maybe we need to get a priest and do an exorcism. Anyway,
that reminds me of that first movie. I remember as a little kid, like being terrified about that movie. It's kind of why since I don't really watch horror movies.
Yeah, well, horror movies. Let's talk about Denizen. Anyway, now we'll move on. Wow, creepy.
I just saw Oppenheimer instead, so maybe I should have saw that.
Yeah. So back to Bentley. Bentley is one of those guys that I felt went under the radar for quite some time. Similar to Jack, similar to Rarebit, similar to Boylan. And so when we were looking at GT Ministries and moving forward, I was looking at who do I want to take on this crazy journey. Whether that's at Fountains or whatever church we end up performing at, whatever conference we end up performing at. Who do I want to bring on the journey with me? Bentley was one of those first. This is a guy I need to bring in. The very first match at Fountains Church for the takeover weekend 2 years ago, this past week.
I remember.
Gareth Angel versus Bentley.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we've met since in BTW, not recently, just at their Rumble.
I was going to avoid that to acknowledge, but I was going to avoid that. Who were the last two participants in that Rumble? I was actually
that was me and Bentley, and I took a claymore to the face.
Yes, you did. Yes, I wasn't going to bring it up,
I know it's still a little crooked from that, but hey, it's been broken 100 times. It's fine. But what I will say is that, like I said, Bentley was one of those people who went under the radar, and I think I've seen a change in him over the last couple of years. I've seen a confidence in him that is completely unmatched. I've seen his in-ring ability improve. I've seen his attitude improve. And the fact that he offered that handshake tells me a lot about Bentley. The fact that he knew at that moment, we've got two alpha males here, two big dogs about to battle it out. Am I confident that we'll end up back in that ring together sometime? Yeah. I think, look, come on, let's be honest. At some point, once I'm done dishing out the dirt and getting rid of the crumbs of evil in GT Ministries, I might want to come back for that world title. And I'm pretty confident Bentley ain't going to let it go without a fight. We might just end up meeting again. we might just end up teaming up. We might just end up on opposite sides of the table when it's Yorkshire versus Lancashire. There might be 100 different ways for Gareth Angel and Bentley to stand across each other in that ring. And when it happens, I expect there to be fireworks. And when it happens, I expect it to be pretty epic. And until then, I wish Bentley all the luck in the world. I am supporting him. I am encouraging him. I am telling him he deserves to be in the spot that he's in. And, he didn't dump me out of this Rumble.
I am chomping at the, and I actually got some comments here, and I'll say a little to those people in a second, but I am chomping at the bits because when I see the two of you, I already think of Hogan and Warrior, Hogan and Macho Man, Rock and Austin. I think of Stone Cold and The Undertaker. I think about The Rock and Cena. I think about Roman and Cena. I mean, there is so many when I think of those scenarios. When I think of GTM, who have been the two biggest figurative and literally superstars in this company in its history, it has been you and Bentley. And I think about this. And this could, listen, there are very few matches, and I have said this off the air, and I am going to say it on the air right now. There are very few matches, in my opinion, that is in the UK, in our scene. Doesn't matter the company where it is. I'm going to totally shoot here. I'm going to totally pipe bomb it, right? There are very few matches that I really think that would sell tickets and would be a true attraction other than you and Bentley. To me, that is one of the few matches that I think of, again, would be a true attraction. It would sell tickets and would really be, again, on a whole nother level. That's just me talking. Doesn't mean it's going to happen right now. Obviously, Bentley's got Rarebit. You got Disciple. But I'm just saying, when I think of the possibilities and I think of those comparisons and what I just said, that's what I already think off the bat.
Sooner or later, I'm sure it will happen. I'm not chasing it, and I don't think Bentley is either right now. We have our own objectives and goals. Someday, I'm sure, Gareth Angel and Bentley will cross paths. And I'm excited and I'm ready for that day because, I'm not out here to put anybody down or to beat someone to say that I've beaten them. I actually really enjoy the fight and the competition. I really enjoy who is the better man on that night. And that gets me excited. And if it's Bentley, well, I
tell you what, I listen, you are getting me fired up, and I want to say hello to some people here. I want to say hello to the Anarchist Gunshot. What's up, guys? He said he keeps getting messages that he was brought up. Well, not on this show, maybe on prior shows, but he'll have to catch up on things. I want to say hello actually to somebody else who's a host of a show. Might be a potential show you might want to go on called The Nemesis Sessions. That is none other than the legendary James Taylor. And of course, he's got 41,000 subscribers on YouTube. So it might be a good outlet in place for some GTM coverage. Certainly, we could certainly use that exposure. He's at Taft Taylor on YouTube, Instagram, Taft_Taylor. He says, I need to go over to the UK and have some matches with some of these guys. The Nemesis James Taylor versus Gareth Angel. Well, he put Thompson, but it's Gareth Angel. So you know what? He's got 41,000 subscribers. You've been an actor. You've been on BBC. I mean, this could really be another match that would be an attraction that could certainly sell some tickets. I mean, listen.
Hit me up, brother. Hit me up. My
and the Nemesis James Taylor, he's looking for guests that I know. Gareth Angel might be your greatest guest just yet. So please get in touch with him. GT Ministries UK on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Gareth Angel, go and get in touch with him. But, I have a question here very quickly. I want to go back to, but I got only a few more minutes with you. Going back on to Bentley, I know that you guys faced off a few years back. Bentley and I think, have referred to it very subtly and kind of small passing. I feel like, though, that a match between you and him, if it were to come to that point, obviously we don't know. He's got Rarebit, you've got Disciple, you both got a lot on your hands. But I kind of feel like right now it would be almost at like a different point in his career. And with your new kind of aggressive side, it would be a different kind of feel. Do you feel in a way that maybe this would be kind of where both of you guys would be at your peak, whereas 2 years ago, he was just kind of getting his feet wet and kind of the training wheels in terms of being to where he is now and where he's being rocket launched? What do you think on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a completely different Bentley, isn't it? No, let's call it how it is. Bentley 2 years ago, when he first showed up, he he gave me a good fight. Don't get me wrong; it was a solid fight. But actually, in that 2 years, he's been in there with some of the best.
Sean Only, Jack Johnson, Disciple, Rarebit,
Franco,
Alex Boylan. I mean,
he's
it's a
faced
long list.
internationals.
I had Franco Varga on. Absolutely. Look at what he's done in Trail. Look at what he's done in BTW. I mean, look at what he's done in TWA. I mean, look at what he's done everywhere. Jack Barron beat him in GTM. I mean, the long list of people that he squared off with, I mean, he has really become a top guy.
Yeah, he has. And so the Bentley that you would get in the ring with Gareth Angel now is a completely different Bentley. And that's what I think is so exciting about the potential matchup is that this Bentley is a world beater. This Bentley is a champion. This Bentley is a main eventer. When he first came in 2 years ago, he was okay, the guy in the tournament.
Had a great look, but you didn't know. You didn't. Yeah. It wasn't there yet. Now I feel like winning 2 Rumbles in about a month, which is again unheard of. Nobody wins 2 Rumbles in a month. He's now all of a sudden to me a guy that is right on your level right now. That's why when I say, to me, it's the GTM version of Hogan Warrior, Hogan Macho Man, Rock Austin, Cena Rock. I mean, because I see it right now between you and him. I see right now when you were gone, who is the guy that fought good? Who was the guy that fought the good fight? It was Bentley. Who's the guy that's always done things the right way? Who has been the vigilante of pro wrestling? It's been Bentley. Just like how you've always fought the good fight in GTM. You've always done it the right way. You've always done it for the right reasons and for the people. That's why I think this would be a match now if it were to happen one day. Now, obviously, I don't know what could happen. Obviously, there's a lot of things that could happen. This, to me, would set box office records. This, to me, would forget about the hot dog lines as crowded as they were this past weekend. They'll be 10 times crowded. I mean, listen. So, I mean, I'm not going to bring up
a bigger venue.
Well, that's exactly what I'm coming across. Is that I think if it were to happen one day, this would be one of the rare attraction matches in the UK or even anywhere around that, to me, would just sell tickets to hype. I can see it now.
Yeah. And whether that happens at Breakout, in September, or whether that happens at GT Ministries.
We want it in GT Ministries. I don't want to
see
it. I don't want to see it in Bolton Town. I don't want to see it in Breakout. I don't want to see it in James.
You want to watch it live. That's why. You want to watch it on the live stream.
I do want to watch it live because, again, GTM is one of the few companies I get to watch it real time. I mean, that's why I love GT Ministries, because you guys do so many great things here. And, I obviously, just want to be able to have that and do that. And I've got a bunch of comments here. And certainly Anthony Steele says hello, the real deal Anthony Steele. We say hello to him out there in, was he in Tennessee these days, I think? Mr. Taylor says he'll be in touch. Skulls the Soul Hunter from California says, good afternoon, gentlemen. Also wants to say, rest in peace, Sinead O'Connor. 56, yes. I think she was. Yeah, very sad news here. Very sad news. Yeah, although I will say, though, as a kid, I remember my father not being too happy when she did the whole thing on Saturday Night Live with the Pope. So I will have to say, on the religious side, I remember my father was not too happy with that. I will say that, actually. So, but certainly I want to wish my thoughts and prayers to her family and fans and friends and everybody else here. And Daniel Banner wants to say thank you to Gareth Angel. Absolutely. We say thank you to him. He also asked about the Academy and if anybody else is out there that he should go out and be in the ring with. But I think that Sean Only will kind of be the judge of that. I think Sean Only will be the judge of that. Yep. Rest in peace, Sinead O'Connor. Yep. Great stuff there. And all right. So obviously we're coming up to the end of our time here. So I want to ask you then this question here, and it's kind of you answered it already. But what do you want to say? Since now that you've laid out the challenge, officially September the 16th, Chronicles 2, loser leaves town match between you and Disciple. Is there any final words that you have for Disciple before September the 16th?
I kind of wish I could give these words face to face. I kind of wish I could give these words fist to fist.
Oh, do you want me to bring him on before the 16th? You'd like me to reach out to Mr. Disciple?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Because, Tom, you might not get a word in edgeways.
That's okay.
There's a pair
Right
of
now,
heels.
these days, I've been trivia questions in basketball. I've had other wrestlers call me out at this point. I've had everybody in the world call me out. So maybe it's better I don't speak. So if you'd like, I could reach out to Mr. Disciple and see
Please.
maybe if he would like to do a face-to-face with you before the 16th.
You know what? I would love to hear what he has to say after.
It's been a while
smashing
since he's
head.
been on, by the way. He's been pretty quiet on Sportswire since he lost the title. I mean, there are
Yeah.
people that would like to hear from him. I could certainly, I'm sure, reach out to him if you'd like. It's
Please
only
do.
if you like.
Please do. Please do. Bring him on.
Okay.
Let him say what he's got to say. Let him get it off his chest, what you've got to get off his chest. Let him talk about how injured Drill is and how injured Stealth are and how on his own he is.
You do.
And then let him talk about just how much fear is in his heart when he realizes the Divine Avenger is coming back to avenge what he did. And that he will end up across the ring from the most aggressive and violent and motivated and disciplined Gareth Angel that anyone has ever seen in my 12-year career.
Because that's saying a lot, because
coming.
I've covered your career a while now. I mean, that's saying a lot.
This is different. This is different. He nearly destroyed my dream. And he nearly took me out of a place that brings me so much joy and peace and happiness. This isn't just a fight that happened anywhere. This was an assault. It was respectful. It was hurtful. It was dangerous. And he needs to answer for that. And we need to set the tone that you can't.
All right, so you want him on here, and you want to be on here with him at the same time.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, all right. So you know what? I think then I know what we have to do here on Sportswire. I'll certainly ask Mr. Disciple if he would like to make that happen, and we'll schedule that real soon, most certainly before the 16th of September. So consider that done here. So I'm not going to ask you any further questions on Disciple. I'm not going to ask you anything until we get to see the two of you.
I'm getting hot. I'd rather you didn't. I'm getting hot again.
I can see it. Listen, tonight,
anger towards this man.
Well, tonight was different. I have to say, I've had you on. I've known you a while, but tonight was different. Tonight was a different Gareth Angel. You may say it's the old Gareth Angel, but I say it's the new Gareth Angel because it's a Gareth Angel that GTM fans haven't seen. So it means it's new, and I think Disciple is going to find out. So we're going to certainly see if this loser leaves town match will once and for all settle if GTM is big enough between Disciple and Gareth Angel. Can the Descendants find a way, or is Gareth Angel's plan going to come into fruition? We're going to have to find out. Mr. Angel, I then want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? I turn it over to you, and the floor is yours.
Well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you to all the talent that come to the GT Ministry shows. Thank you for the team at Fountains for making it all happen. Adam, Shelby, Andy, Linda, Chris, Becky, anyone who jumps on the tuck shop, like Jack and Josh running around, like all the trainees, everybody who makes GT Ministries what it is. I want to thank those church leaders that have believed in me, those people that have come on board with our new charity as we move forward. And I just want to say all of this is to give Jesus the glory and to move forward in bringing people into relationship with him. And if we happen to do that through me smashing heads like disciples, then so be it. But we do it through love, care, and compassion, and bringing a different side to the wrestling industry that both the talent and the fans are benefiting from. All of that is only possible because people believe in us, that people like yourself tell people about us, that they get the word out. So I would say if you can, find us on places like Patreon. We'd love to have you support. Find us on places like Buy Me a Coffee. We'd love to have you support. Get us on social media. Contact us. Be in touch with us. If there's a church near you, tell them about us. If you want to come and join the training school, come along on a Thursday night. We've just got so much going on. And keep your eyes on our socials for a special announcement for August 19th, Saturday night. Wrestling Church is coming back. We haven't said anything particular about this, but there's apparently a film crew showing up from Sky TV, and Josh Widdicombe, who is a well-known comedian here in the UK, has apparently decided he wants to step in the ring with me. So we'll see.
Well, I think we're going to have to find out and wait and see.
When the details are ready, we will let you know.
I will look forward to that. But in the meantime, speaking of social media, GT Ministries UK, Instagram,
on everything. Yeah.
YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Gareth_Angel on Instagram. So if you're out there, Gareth_Angel. Also, Gareth Angel on Facebook, Twitter. Make sure you support this man, support this cause. I always do my best to support and promote GT Ministries, not just because of the work inside the ring, but outside the ring. And my
You wear
friend,
my T-shirt, which I love.
I always try. I wear it all the time. People ask me all the time. We're talking about this off the air. They say, no, they'll ask me questions. I always talk about GT Ministries. I'll at least get the name out there. So, I definitely want to make sure I promote the company. And I want to say hello to Daniel Banner out there and the Anarchist Gunshot for coming in. They have this is a match I'd love to see. And obviously, I think maybe you and what you just said will have to see. And also, Anarchist says hello one more time. So, obviously, this was definitely well worth the 1 year delay. This was definitely one that I'm going to remember for the ages. I hope to have maybe you and Disciple here very, very soon before the 16th of September. And my friend, I can't thank you enough for all that you do, not just inside the ring, but outside the ring. Very excited to see the future of not just what you are going to do, but also this wonderful company that has made a difference in so many people's lives. And I can't thank you enough. And we'll definitely speak with you soon. And congratulations on your return to the ring in the Rumble in the Fountains Church. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Gareth Angel. Of course, Gareth Angel made his triumphant return to the GT Ministries Numbers Ready to Rumble show this past Saturday in the Fountains Church. You can watch the show on the Wrestling Church -FCB page on Facebook. Every GTM show is going to be streamed live there. You can also support them at GT Ministries UK here on all the different platforms. So I want to thank everybody here for tuning in. I have a few other comments here related to something else with me, but it's not the proper time to actually talk about those things because we are here in an important segment related to GT Ministries and the work that they do in the community and along with professional wrestling. So I want to thank everybody here. I'll be back live on Sportswire Radio later this week here on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio. Good night, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are on Sportswire Radio.